if you're not well rested and well recovered and you keep pushing yourself, you have a higher risk of injury. And this is just now showing up in different places, which is why I always love being a little catchy with my patients. And they're like, yeah, what's the best recovery? Like, is it cold plunging? Is it sauna? I'm like, actually, it's just chilling and doing less. Have you ever thought about that? Like,
Letting your
um,
body do what it's meant to do and what yeah.
and I think that's the part of the thing that does correlate with a lot of things. Most people, when they're injured, they're like, okay, now what else do I have to do? Do I have to go and do extra physical therapy? Do I have to get a discharge massage? What do I need?
Right.
And actually, massages have the same amount of evidence as just being held by someone you love.
Welcome to the True Healing Experience podcast. I am your host, Dana Herrera, and with me today is an extraordinary human, Dr. Felipe Deliyore. I like to call him Feli. And Feli is a regenerative medicine, sports medicine physician in Costa Rica. He has his master's in healthcare AI applications and is just an incredible human. I've been blessed to be able to work alongside him in the stem cell and regenerative medicine world. And I've nominated you today to be on this podcast. How do we know each other?
Hey, Dana, thank you for inviting me. It's really an honor to be here. As you mentioned, we used to work together. We still do in some sort of fashion. We always bounce the ideas off each other. But you're just, yeah, you're one of those people that I've always been in sync with and always have been super easy to align ourselves and our values to the work we do. So it's always a pleasure. And I hope this podcast also helps somebody in some way.
Awesome. Yes, this is going to be an incredible conversation for everybody listening. We are going to tackle some really interesting subjects in the world of sports medicine, surgery, when to do surgery, when not to do surgery, stem cells and regenerative medicine, frequency healing, and maybe even some AI and healthcare. So let's get started. I want to start by asking you. So I know you well, and I know you also own a gym, and I know a little bit about your dad and some things that he's taught you. You have always been a person that puts people first. And I think that's why we sync so well. Where did that originate? Like in your childhood, what happened? Was there a moment or something that took place that led you to go, you know what? I want to be a doctor. I want to help people. I want to open a gym. Tell me about like your becoming in that story.
Okay, so yeah, it has got real personal real quick. I like it. So yeah, it all started with my dad. So as I've told you before, he comes from a very poor family up in the mountains of Costa Rica. He essentially had to claw his way through getting a scholarship, going into med school, and eventually starting one of the first ICUs in the country. So he's always been a huge example for me. And ever since I was growing up, he managed to do two things, which were pretty interesting. And I'm not sure I've told you about these two. So one was he would always take me with him to the ER and the ICU. It's not something I recommend doing with most kids, uh, but he would take me. He would show me people having essentially the worst day of their lives, and he would have me talk to them and try to see it as a normal part of life, which is true. I mean, tragedy is a part of life. So he would like introduce me to people, have me talk to them. I would always be like sitting down with the nurses, scribbling and making drawings. So I grew up like giving drawings to people and in the ER and trying to befriend them. It's it's things that you could do more or less 30 years ago when you could have a kid running around the ER talking to people and
Sure.
having them
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And my dad has always been very strict in many ways. And the strictest way which he taught us was that if you're not helping people, why are you even living? It doesn't have to be that dramatic, but he would always teach us since we were small. Our mission in life is to leave this world at least a shit speck better than we found it. Those were his exact words. I actually have that on a painting in my house. So I
So it
see that
stuck with
every
you.
morning.
Yeah.
And it's a good way of looking at it. That we're all responsible for making the world at least a little bit better in some way. So he taught me that from when I was small. And one of the things he all told me to incorporate was some form of gratitude through helping people. So this is something that I haven't told many people of. He said, whenever you win, someone else has to win with you. So what does that mean? He's like, so for example, I sold my house a year or two ago. I can't remember. And so that was like, okay, that's a win. You got some cash. You have to give some of that away. And he was like, yeah, and that's something that he ingrained into me.
Okay.
Whenever I graduated from university, he's like, that's a win for you. Let's go find somebody in the street and buy them lunch.
Wow.
So that whenever you win, you have to make sure that someone else wins with you.
I
If
love
not,
that.
you're being selfish.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, my dad's a bit of a hard stick, so he's pretty severe with this. At 72, he's still seeing patients, he's still doing things. But
Really?
yeah, of course. I
Wow.
mean, he works from like 9 a.m. to noon. Most of the patients these days don't even come in because they're sick. They just want to talk for a while.
Yeah, they just wanna
Uh,
visit. Yeah, it seems like
exactly.
he wouldn't know what to do with himself if he didn't have that purpose and that outlet, right?
No, and not necessarily because he needs the money. Like he told me, he's a really smart businessman, and he's built himself another kind of empire here. But he told me he could have retired when he was 40. He just doesn't want to.
Wow.
And it's always been very interesting because he really still instilled that into me, and that is the
Uh-huh.
reason why I went into healthcare. So what happened was I was one day in the waiting room. Here you can go into med school when you're 17. So I was 17, like playing on my Nintendo in the middle of a waiting room at the hospital. I had no idea what the heck I wanted to study. I thought I was going to go into like, I don't know, computer engineering or something. And I saw people crying. I saw somebody who had just lost a family member. I saw them roll a guy that was bleeding on the gurney. All while I had like my feet up on another chair. I'm like, I realized like I'm totally comfortable in this situation. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should do this and go into healthcare. That's why I decided to become a doctor. And I pride myself on maybe not necessarily being the smartest doctor in the room. I have some pretty genius friends. But I do try to be the best human I can be while being a doctor. And I think that's much, much more important.
I would agree with
Um,
that. And yes, you do that very, very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's something that I think this world needs more of. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why people hate or dislike doctors, because a lot of them forget that. Especially in countries unlike Costa Rica, where there's a lot of money that you get. You essentially can become a millionaire if you're a doctor. It instills a level of superiority that is not good for anybody. As you know, most of what the work I've done, besides the regenerative medicine space, has been in the public healthcare space here in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
And it's really cool because it shows you a different way of thinking. Because when there's no incentive in practicing a certain kind of medicine, you can shift the focus to what the patient needs. So
Right.
there's some limitations on what the hospital allows you to do, but normally it's do as least as you can, that will give the patient the most benefit. And I think that is the best way of looking at a patient when you're seeing them. You really have to understand their situation and what they need.
I think that is a beautiful way of putting it. And yeah, especially in the United States, obviously that's not what our traditional medicine model is based on. It's based on, repeat customers essentially. That's really how we look at, I feel like, patients this day and age. And so you worked in the public sector, the public health sector, and then you went into regenerative medicine. Was there a specific time or moment when you realized that like conventional medicine wasn't necessarily the only way or all you wanted to focus on? Like how did you make that jump?
Okay, so I actually have interesting point of view on this, and it's not the most traditional. Um, I'm
Give it
not
to me.
100% guarantee you're gonna like it, but I think you're gonna. I think you
Okay.
might. So one was, well, the COVID pandemic hit. I was working at a rehab hospital, so you know this. I had to work 2 years just seeing people dying for COVID. I mean, no matter what you think about the pandemic, the real, I mean, on the
People
front
died.
lines, there was a lot of people that were very, very sick.
Yes.
We can go into conspiracy theories on that why that was, but yeah, it was a heck of a disease to deal with. So I did that, and I did get sort of burned out. I mean, when you're doing 80-hour weeks, at some point you're like, oh, there has to be something better than this, which
Sure.
is when regenerative medicine showed up at my door. And to be honest, I don't like the name regenerative medicine. I
Okay.
just think it should be called medicine.
Mm.
so it's
Ooh.
so I don't want to say it's a hot take, but I just think like the way in which you should practice medicine is you should be able to get somebody to be as healthy as possible and to heal themselves on their own without your input as much as possible.
Right.
That's why I don't think regenerative medicine should be a thing. I mean, it incorporates a lot of things, but it should just be the way you practice medicine. There's a place for medication, there's a place for surgery, there's a place for certain treatments, but most of the time, you should do what most people say they do through functional medicine or through integrative medicine. There's a lot of names people come up with, which is essentially sitting down with the person, probably talking to them longer than most physicians want to. And here I do have to give a lot of people leeway because I have worked in spaces where I only have 15 minutes to talk to somebody, and that is not the way you go about certainly healing someone. I mean, I think the first time you talk to a patient, you should at least have about an hour. I mean, it might take a little bit more or less, but it should be the time where you are able to talk to them about who they are, what they do for a living, who do they live with, get an idea of what their stress is like, and then go much deeper into past traumas, what's happened in their life, what led them to this point, and what led them to this injury. Take this with a grain of salt. If they're bleeding from a hole in their leg, sure, cover
Right.
that up
A little
first, and
different.
then you can get.
Well, that's acute, right? We're yeah, different between acute injuries versus like say chronic or other type of things that people are dealing with most of the time, right?
Yeah, but still, you should be able to handle the acute, and then before you let them go home, have a plan that makes sense for them.
I love it.
So, there's a rather crude reality, but I think this is a case that sort of illustrates it pretty well. So when I was in orthopedics training, um, we had a patient that works at a banana plantation here in Costa Rica, which in summary is just relatively close to modern slavery. Anyway, he had an injury in his leg, and there was a debate on. I mean, he definitely needed surgery. His leg was mangled, so there was a debate whether trying to reconstruct his foot and make it into a nice working foot with what would have taken him about a year to fully recover from and be able to get back to work, or realizing this is a guy whose entire family depends on him being able to cut down banana trees.
Right.
It was much better to, in this case, cut off the foot, make a prosthesis, make him be able to fit it in a boot, and having get back to work next week. And that was actually what he wanted.
Right.
So that's where I say, like, you have to be a person. You have to understand where everybody you're working with is coming from, so you can be
Mhm.
the best doctor that they need to be.
I
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think just to chime in there, I feel that 100%. I think a lot of doctors, you go see them and especially in difficult situations like oncology or something like that, I feel like they see so much of that. It's almost like you numb yourself and you're just checking a box when in reality, what you should be doing is putting yourself in that person's shoes. Every single person who steps in front of you, you put them in you put yourself in their shoes and say, if this was me, how would I want to be treated? How would I want to be, how would I get my quality of life back? What does that look like? And I think that's where we're missing the mark in so much of current, traditional healthcare. So to your point, you're 100% right.
Yeah, and I think that that is more a system issue than it is in most cases a person issue. First, because I don't think humans
Agreed.
are inherently bad. But again, if you're seeing 40 sad stories a day and you only have 20 minutes to resolve each of them,
What are you going
it's
to do? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
You're
that's
limited.
why that's why I'm a huge advocate for like better working conditions and better conditions for the patients and doctors as well. If you're coming in and they're going to give you a cancer diagnosis, I don't want the doctor that's talking to me to be in a rush because he has to go see someone else. I want it to
Right.
take as long as it needs to. And all it, most of my colleagues that I know eventually do that and then sort of have to work non-paid overtime and that kind of thing to help them. Also because I try to work with nice people instead of just anybody. But yeah, that's why regenerative medicine and this whole space has taken so much leeway, so much effort, because it's essentially just making a doctor sit down and talk to you like you're a human being, which is the way in which medicine should be practiced.
Yes, I could not, and I mean, I can't echo that sentiment more. And maybe let's have that be our mission, right? By in 10 years from now, no more regenerative medicine. It's just called medicine. Because I think, knowing me now, that I'm a huge believer that we all have the capabilities to heal ourselves. We just need the right resources and tools to do so. And to your point, I love what you said. You brought up and asking questions instead of just asking, what's your family history? Do you smoke? All of those things. Let's figure out on an emotional and mental level, where are you? What's happened in your life? What are you holding? What kind of inflammation is your body naturally creating because of past trauma or past situations because, as you know, all the stem cells in the world, all the regenerative medicine in the world can't help somebody whose system is in fight or flight, right? That's why you see people get the two exact same treatments and have two completely different outcomes. Actually, will you speak to that a little bit? Have you do you have a
Yeah.
specific situation where you've actually even seen that happen?
So I've seen that in several ways, and one's more dramatic than the others. And actually, I want to go a little deeper, and just because, having said that, regenerative medicine should just be medicine. Whenever you see someone going through hardship, especially in my case, it would be normal physically hardship. Um, there is a very easy way to tell if they're going to come out of it right or not, just based on the attitude with which they're facing it. Um, Again, going back to COVID, just because I saw a lot of people die, regardless of what you think of the disease, when you have someone that's very, very sick, dealing with, I'm going to be unconscious, I'm going to be intubated, I don't know if I'm going to see my family again. What I noticed was as simple as this. If it was somebody who in their heart believed they were going to see their family again, they had much, much larger odds of that being true than if it was somebody that just gave up the second that they showed up. And you could see it on people's faces. I mean, you had the example of somebody who came in and be like, "No, I'm getting out of this stock. What do I need to do? Do I need to lay face down for a couple of days? Okay, I'll do it." And they muscle through it. Done. And that's been the same thing with any kind of treatment I've ever given any other patient. If it's somebody that walks in like, no, I know what you're giving me is snake oil. Nobody can fix this. I've been to everybody, and they're
Mhm.
in that negative mind space. Nothing works.
The
There's
belief,
nothing you can
right?
do that's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whether if you believe you're right or believe you're wrong, you're right, right? Like it's that belief system,
it, it,
100%,
it's that creating your own reality. Um,
right?
it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, some people have to. I mean, you can't just wish your way out of certain really bad situations, but attitude towards them is exactly what it is. And actually, yeah, I think we have enough time and just to veer away from medicine because I do think it's a pretty cool story. And I think one
Yeah,
day I'm going to write a book on it.
let's
I
talk
think the
about it.
best example of it is my dad. So his life story being very short was he was 17 years old. Yeah, when he was finishing high school, he was actually playing professional soccer. I think I'm pretty sure I've told you this story.
Tell me
And yeah, so he was playing professional soccer. He was kid number 12 of a 13 kid, pretty poor home. So
Oh, wow.
imagine being
Yeah.
poor and also being very, very fertile. That was my
Mhm.
grandma's life. Anyway, so he was playing soccer. My grandfather, who was a really, really macho man, who was very proud of him playing soccer. Third game he was playing, he got tackled, shattered his ankle. He said, "No, I got to go study." I mean, thankfully Costa Rica has free college education. He's like, "No, I'm going to college. I want to become a doctor and help people because I can lose soccer at any moment." And my
Wise
grandfather,
man.
his yeah, and my grandfather's response was, "Well, only bums go to school," so he kicked him out of the house. So my father did
Wow.
not have a dime. He was living in the streets of a really, really small town in the 80s in Costa Rica. And he didn't have a dime. He had maybe a little bit of change his mom gave him before he got kicked out of the house. Different times, but still. So what he did was he went and he played pool. He was actually really good. He still competes in it. So he went and played
That's
pool.
awesome.
And he bet all the cash he had. He bet on himself, and
Yep.
he won. And then he bet again and kept on and kept winning and kept winning. Did so for a few weeks until the owner of the pool parlor came up to him pissed and was like, "Look, you're killing my business. No one wants to come in anymore. Here are the papers to the place. If you beat me, you get to keep it. If I win, you give me your cash and I never see you again." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." So he played. He won the pool parlor off like 7 games to 5. If you're a pool player, you might know. Yeah, you played to a certain amount of games. He won. He kept the place, turned the office into a bedroom, and he did his first year of college from that pool parlor, which he eventually sold off, and he used that cash to pay for an apartment while he finished med school.
That's a great story, and I don't think you've told me that. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's why I have a tattoo of him on my leg. Um,
Incredible. Incredible.
so it just goes to show that if you let the world defeat you, you're going to be defeated. If you decide you don't want to give up, I mean, when there's a will, there's a way. It can be really, really, really hard, but as long as you decide that you refuse to be a victim, you can find a way through.
Yes. Yes, I believe that 100%. I'm dealing with that, right? Like I'm going through that right now as a new entrepreneur and following this calling on my heart and writing a book and creating a category. By the way, the category is called experiential regenerative wellness. We'll
Wow.
do a part two and talk all about that. But it's scary when you take that leap. But the people who fail are the ones who stop. You just have to keep going. I believe that with all my heart. You have to keep going, and the universe will bring the people to you and the resources to you that you need in order to fulfill that calling if you believe that it's possible, right? And I think you just prove that with the story with your dad and even your story. It's absolutely incredible. So then where did the gym come in? Like you have your own gym in Costa Rica as well because you're very big on physical fitness and personal training and staying healthy and all of that. Where did that come into play, and what was the deep rooted drive that led you to wanting to do that?
Okay, so that was an interesting one. So I also grew up really, really fat. I think I've shown you the videos. I used to be
Mm,
like 250 pounds all through high school. Even when I got into med school, I was like, okay, I can't really be a fat doctor. That was just something I told me. I have nothing against fat doctors. Please don't hate me if you're a fat doctor. Uh, but it's
you just
like
didn't want to be one.
exactly, if I'm
Yeah,
telling people to be healthy, I should at least look healthy-ish. So
it's a
that's why I
fair
really
point.
committed to it. Yeah, and all my high school friends were like jacked, six pack and everything. I was the ugly friend. I'm like, no, I can't fall behind. Like they're getting all the girls. Like I should really do something about this. Uh, so my best buddy Maku, who you've met, he's
Yeah.
actually Japanese. We always talked about, hey, let's open up a gym. Let's open up a gym. Let's do it. It's actually going to have a pretty fun ending. So when we were out of high school, we're like, okay, let's do the gym. And then we immediately realized we can't, we're broke. Okay, let's go to college, study something, make some cash, and then we'll open the gym. You're like, okay, fine. So that took
Good
like,
plan.
yeah, it took like 6, 7 years or something. All
Yeah.
the extra cash I made from the pandemic, from all the overnight shifts, was the savings that went into the gym. So during the pandemic, we opened it up. It was much cheaper to do it that way. And when we opened it, we're like, okay, dude, look, we are not getting rich off a gym. Like, unless we make somehow come up with the competition to Gold's Gym, we are not. This is not going to be it. This is
Right.
probably going to be fun and have some cash on the side. For him, he's a full-time personal trainer, so I'm like, yeah, you're going to be head coach. You're going to live off this. I'll make some extra cash, but let's just enjoy it and try to help as much people as we can with this. Just because I do think God has a really nice sense of humor. When we were just about to open, his ex-girlfriend decided to tell him that she was pregnant.
I remember
So
that.
it did light a fire under his butt where I told him like, okay, now we're gonna help people, but we also have to feed a kid. So you have
Right.
9 months so we can get this gym at least producing some amount of profit, or I'm closing all this down and you're getting a normal job and feeding your kid.
Right.
Make a choice. He was like, okay, fine, let's do it. It really lit a fire, and we always kept this mentality of we don't worry about the little shit. So it's one of those gyms where if you can come in, I mean, we've had people come in and be like, hey, I'm really overweight. I'm sorry, I can't pay the monthly fee. We're like, okay, don't worry. Train for free for a month. If you don't miss a single class, we won't charge you. We have a lot of nurses that work here. Nurse pay is horrible in Costa Rica, to summarize it.
Hmm.
Tons of times we have the nurses come in and be like, hey, I didn't get my paycheck this month. Can you guys help me out? And we're like, don't worry, this month isn't us. Just keep going. Keep going. Don't lose the momentum. And it's been a really, really cool way to get people to not be afraid of being stronger. There's a patient came in. She's a girl with end stage kidney disease.
Okay.
She's essentially waiting for a transplant. There's nothing else to do. I mean, her kidney's gone. She has to give herself dialysis. And she came in and she's like, I want to run a half marathon, but every gym that I go to treats me like I'm gonna die. I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation. I'm like, the odds of you dying by anything are pretty high because you have kidney failure. She's like, yeah, I'd much rather die running up a mountain than crying at home watching TV. I'm like, perfect. Now that we've settled that, let's dive into it. And we just helped her gain 6 pounds of muscle last month,
Wow.
in a
Wow.
month, because
Wow.
nobody in the gym ever took the time to sit down with her,
Right.
actually teach her how to squat and move. And sure, she might not do the most complicated workout routine. It's actually incredibly simple, which is actually the name of my gym.
The name of the gym. Yep.
But
Simple community, right?
exactly, and it works. And I think she's gonna do the half marathon, which to do half marathon with end stage kidney disease is insane.
It's
But
incredible.
she's a huge inspiration, and that is exactly the reason why we opened the gym.
It's just it's incredible. Everything that you do though, it's a testament to the human will, to human willpower, right? And to if you do the right thing and you're helping people, the money is the byproduct, right? I've always believed you and I have had this conversation many times. Money is the byproduct. Money does not make you successful. Helping other human beings is what I deem as successful in my life. The money is the byproduct. Of course, we have to live, right? But I'm just in awe of you because everything you do in life is truly to help other people. And I think again, that's why we get along so well because that's just my passion too, right? We just want to help people heal, right? Help people heal and be the best versions of themselves because they're put on this planet. God put them on this planet to create something only they could create, right? And if we can do our part and help them be healthy and strong and fit and believe in themselves and trust in themselves and find joy or whatever it is, then they are now in a position to bring to the world what they're meant to bring to the world.
And,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that is the way to change the world right now. I think when you spread love and you help people, if everybody in the world thought about helping people as their main motivation, the world would be perfect.
Agreed. There's something interesting hit me the other day, and it's called kingdom frequencies. So most of the world, not most, yeah, most of the world walks around at a low level of consciousness, right? They're constantly negative. They're blaming themselves. They're in guilt. They're in doubt. They're in fear. They're in sadness. They're in shame. Those are lower levels of consciousness. Kingdom frequencies are peace, joy, abundance, and love, right? If everybody could live from peace, joy, abundance, and love, then you bring heaven to earth. Think about that. That's how you bring heaven to earth by helping people move out of those lower levels of frequency into those higher levels of frequency. But the reason why what you do is so important and what we do as a collective is because the physical dimension, if you're sick, if you're in pain, if you're not well, it is so hard to move out of those frequencies when you're in pain. So let's talk a little bit about like surgery and sports medicine now. Let's shift just a smidge on that. So I guess, what is a popular opinion that maybe you disagree with, or tell me a little bit about your stance on all of that.
Okay, there's one that I really like, and I think you're gonna like it as well. Actually, I had this in my back pocket in case you asked. So, do you know what is the main injury risk for anybody?
Falling? I don't know.
Stress.
Oh,
It's
yes,
what
for sure.
correlates in most, but no, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like physical stress. It just is overload. Like if you're not well rested and well recovered and you keep pushing yourself, you have a higher risk of injury. And this is just now showing up in different places, which is why I always love being a little catchy with my patients. And they're like, yeah, what's the best recovery? Like, is it cold plunging? Is it sauna? Is it, I'm like, actually, it's just chilling and doing less. Have you ever thought about that? Like,
Letting your
um,
body do what it's meant to do and what yeah,
and I think that's the part of the thing that does correlate with a lot of things. Most people, when they're injured, they're like, okay, now what else do I have to do? Do I have to go and do extra physical therapy? Do I have to get a discharge massage? What do I need?
right.
And actually, massages have the same amount of evidence as just being held by someone you love.
Wow.
They work exactly the same. I mean,
Wow.
you can either say the massages don't work or that holding someone you love is actually pretty important.
It's the connection, right? It's that human connection is what it sounds like.
Which is also the main predictor of longevity, as we can see at the moment, beyond any other kind of objective marker, which is the sense
Connection.
of connection.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it all comes down to the same thing. So going back to injury management, unless it's something that is like a fracture, I'll just rule fractures out because most of them have to be put back in place, not necessarily
Sure.
operated on, but at least put back in place. Most injuries these days they can be treated non-operatively. I mean, usually, I mean, like if it's a small meniscus injury or a small tendon tear, those kinds of things, most people jump on. No, you need to get an arthroscopy and get that fixed up. Even international organizations are moving to try what I think in this case regenerative might be a better word for it, even though there's biological orthopedics, which I think is more accurate. Anyway, which is try a PRP shot, try stem cell injection,
Sure.
see how much just increasing blood flow, increasing growth factors to the area can get you feeling better before you go in and have someone open up your knee. And
Absolutely.
here's where the first phrase you learn when you're surgery comes into play, which is the best surgery is the one you don't have to do, because they all have complications. And as physicians, the more you do, the more risks of causing something else to happen you have. So whenever you can do the least amount of implications, like if you're going to operate on something, ask yourself, can I maybe try non-operatively? And can I just do an injection of something, or can I handle this non-operatively, or the least invasive way? And then at the same time, ask yourself, can I do it even less invasive? Is it something that through strength work, through physical therapy, through dedicated movement can get better on its own? Or how most people think about it is start from one, then, okay, you didn't respond to the proper exercise regimen or whatever you were supposed to be doing, then move up and then move up. Of course, again, the caveat, fractures go straight to, no, you fix that. But anyway, it's usually a stairway that you should follow on how you handle injury, rather than just going straight to the surgery because you want to get it over with and get back in the field.
Right.
Unless it's very specific injuries. I mean, there's always caveats to everything in medicine, and there's always that depends is always going to be the best answer.
Sure.
But for most injury that happen to the average Joe, first check how you're recovering, check your stress levels. And people do that a lot. Well, a lot of what I've seen is you have somebody who's like a really high performer, works out all the time, has incredibly high stress levels, and then starts heavy weightlifting on top of that, then wants to run a marathon at the same time, then decides to have 3 babies in a row. All of this,
Cold plunge. Yeah.
yeah, you,
Biohack out there till the cows come home.
exactly. When it's like, okay, look, if you just had a baby, maybe just be with the baby and then do
Yeah.
a few push-ups if you can, and then eventually it'll all fall into place. But there's only
Yeah.
certain amounts of stress your body can take before something breaks. Um, so again, going back to the root cause and also being kind to yourself and realizing that you don't have to be a professional athlete, even though social media puts that on you. You can also just be a regular human being for a while, be a good spouse, be a good dad. And then eventually, yeah, you can get back to being really athletic and stuff, but knowing that everything has its time and place, and that if you decide to disrespect it, your body will remind you real quick who's the boss and who's in charge.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's
so
sending us signals, right? All of the things that we feel are it's not something to fix, it's a message, right? That's how I view it. It's giving you a message. Something is going on and it's trying to tell you to slow down and reassess, right?
exactly. And I mean, the gym's always going to be there. Hopefully, you're going to live a long life. You're always going to have time to do everything. It's just trying to slow down with this mentality of we can do everything at once and be excellent at everything. Because if
Mhm.
you try to be excellent at everything at the same time, you're probably going to suck at most things.
Mhm. That is a very, very valid point. Okay, one last question for you. So, let me see. Ooh, how deep do we want to go?
Yeah,
So, where do you see yourself in 10 years? How do you see yourself contributing to the world and winning yourself, but also helping other people win? Like what does that future for you look like? Let's say that medicine completely changes or maybe it doesn't, but what does 10 years from now look like for you as a physician, as somebody who has a master's in AI healthcare application? What does that look like?
all right. So 10 years from now, I do want to have, wink wink, some form of project which I helped. I don't know if I want to be necessarily the type of boss that just directs. I always want to be hands on helping people. So I do envision myself still working with patients, being able to choose them, and also I want to lead the new generation of doctors in a way that wasn't how I was trained. So
Mm,
I was trained in the way in which your well-being doesn't matter. You have to sacrifice yourself. You have to be able to work 36 hours in a row and not complain. I
mhm,
do want to share that passion of whenever you have someone sick in front of you, I do genuinely think there's nothing more important than that in that moment. So like absolute focus on the patient you have in front of you. but also take care of yourself, check yourself, check how you're doing. And at the end, it's much more important to be a good person than it is to be what most people think a good doctor is going to be. So I want to be, in some way or another, guiding the new generations into that it's more important to be a good person than it is to just be a genius.
I love it.
Um, because I think with AI, how smart you are is going to become irrelevant. I think what people are going to look for is the genuine human connection, and the fact that they're able to talk to you. I mean,
Yes,
chatbots, I don't think they're ever not going to suck. And having someone that actually gives a crap about you and your well-being is going to be that much more important. It's the same
agreed.
thing why my dad at 72 still has patience. I mean, there's probably people that are more techie than him by now and this stuff. But the thing is, when you sit down with somebody who cares deeply about you and you know they have your well-being in mind, you're going to keep going to them and you're going to keep asking them for help. And so that is
100%.
also comes with a huge responsibility on your part on being on top of your game and being able to recommend what you genuinely think is going to be the most beneficial for this person.
Hmm. And being able to your point, fill your own cup so you have stuff to pour into other people, right? Like it's not just about neglecting yourself. There's that balance, right, of filling your own cup and taking care of yourself so you can pour as much as you can into your patients, into other people. And I love that. I think I'm with you. Let's double down on human connection in a world that is doubling down on AI. I think there's a place for AI, of course, but let's double down on human connection
I,
because
I,
we
I
will
don't think
never
there's
not
ever
need human connection.
I don't think there's ever going to be a substitute for it. I genuinely think first I think people are overstating what AI can do. I think it's essentially just taking databases and giving them to you in a way you can digest it.
It's an
Sure,
insanely
there's
smart freaking computer program, basically,
yeah.
right? I mean,
I
yeah.
I think AI will take care of the boring part of work. Like if AI makes me not have to ever look at an Excel sheet again in my life, I'll be more than happy.
Or
Uh,
do a presentation, PowerPoint presentation. Would love it.
exact.
Yeah, it's great.
Exactly, but it's the same reason why and you know this. So when I go to the psychologist, I always want to sit down with him and talk
Hmm.
because there is no substitute for a human connection. And I think the people that really understand that and that can use AI to free themselves more time to be with the patient. Like one thing I'm exploring in my own office is setting up an EMR that just voice records and writes everything down. So I don't have to be looking at a computer and typing stuff down while I'm with somebody. I can just talk to them
Yeah.
and then later make
Be there
sure
with
that
them, be present with them, and not have to worry about taking notes and all of the other things.
exactly,
Yeah,
which
that's
I think
great.
is the proper way of mixing AI with healthcare. I think is taking out all the work that is not patient focused so you can be entirely focused on not missing anything on the person you're taking care of.
I love it. It's absolutely amazing. I am so, so happy that you joined me today. Thank you for taking the time to be on the True Healing Experience podcast. It has been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you next time where science and soul meet. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks for listening to the True Healing Experience. You can find the Four Dimensions of Wellness book by Dana Herrera and the Four Dimensions of Wellness assessment on theco.life. That's THECO.LIFE. We'll see you next time where science meets soul.